Aloha class. This chapter was really interesting. It was all about understanding communities. Something that I loved about this chapter was how communities can be understood from multiple perspectives. And I didn't have that perception before I started this chapter. But it would make sense that the way I might perceive, maybe I perceive a community from a sociological perspective. So I see more maybe the poverty within the community and how that affects people. Or maybe I look at it from the perspective of race, or maybe I look at it from the perspective of mental health, how many people are struggling with mental health within the community. And that might be more of a sociological perspective. But then there's a person that might be, like, let's take Laie, for example. Let's say I was a member of HRI, which is like the biggest construction company that works in Laie. They might view it from a structural perspective and see which areas within the community need to be constructed better, or which neighborhoods need to be rebuilt, or sort of revamped to be better. Or maybe they'll just see it as different plots of land that they're able to build on. And that is just two examples of multiple examples of a way that you can understand a community. The book gives 4 different frames, and I just wanted to highlight those briefly, talking about the 4 different perspectives that we can understand a community from. And keep in mind that there are multiple perspectives, even more than these. The first one was the structural frame. So this framework, the way you look through it, it just describes the role of the structural architecture in determining the roles and relationships within the organization. Which I think is pretty fascinating. I think of towns who their architecture is rather large. Like in Europe, I lived in London, and much of the architecture defines the community, so maybe that. There's a human resources frame, which examines the relationships among people and then how they relate to the organization. So that's more sort of what I would view as a sociological one. There's a political frame, which sees organization as arenas in which power and politics play out among groups, which I think is what we most likely see our community as right now. We're in a time where politics is everything, and what political party you belong to defines your community, what you are a part of. So I would say that's the one we view our communities through right now. And then there's the symbolic frame, and it views the organization as an interplay of artifacts, values, and underlying beliefs. So that's sort of like as well as a sociological one, as you're looking at the value of society. But those are the 4 different frames that you can view and understand communities and society.